Pride Like It Created, and today we're going to be making a card that uses a stamping and die technique. So I have out some sentiments that we'll put on the front of the card when we're done. I have some circle dies. It could be any shaped die that you would like. I have my card base, and I have a coordinating color of cardstock to go with my ink. I'm going to use this Lisa Horton's dye pigment ink. It's interference, which means it's called Crushed Velvet Shimmer, and when you move it, it goes between these two colors. So that will be interesting. I have my Misty platform here already with a background stamp put in place. And so to begin, we're just going to ink up our background and stamp it onto our cardstock. And my stamp was a little bit off size from an A2, and so I didn't want to stamp it right onto the cardstock base. So I have it here, and I'm going to stamp it twice because I'm getting a variation of ink. And I am just using a dry eraser to press down with it. It looks like I've got a little extra ink here, so I'm going to pick that up first because it's filled into my stamp there. Right. And I'm just going to rub hard on the areas that I'm most interested in getting additional ink. All right, so I am happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and clean off my stamp, and then we can move on from here. I'm going to go ahead and cut down my stamped image. I did go ahead and use a heat tool to make sure it was all dry before moving on. It has a little bit of a shimmer to it, and that is the interference ink showing up. All right, and so I want to just place it on my cardstock here, and I can see that I need to trim off a decent amount to center this. So I'm just going to make a little pencil mark right there. I'm just kind of eyeballing where I think it needs to be cut. And I know I'm a little off camera, but I'm just using paper trimmer, so I don't think you're going to have a problem seeing what I'm doing here. All right, so now I've done that. What we're going to do here is now cut our background to match our card front. And once again, I'm just going to go in with a little pencil mark as to where to trim. And this will be the entire size of the front of the card. Now, if you wanted to show a little bit of white, you would cut this down a little bit smaller. All right, but to show you what I mean, here is our card, and this is going to cover the entire front piece, and then this is going to sit on top like so. All right. Move this out of the way. And now we're going to die cut this piece. So I'm going to decide where I want to put my circles. Now this could be any shape. Stacking dies would work great for this process. I had these circle dies. Sorry for the crinkling noise. Oh my goodness. All right. That large one just did not want to let go. And so now I'm going to figure out, I'm going to use 3 because that's an odd number. And we tend not to count odd numbers. And I'm going to use washi tape to hold these in place on the front of my card. I think and just like that, I think will work. I know I want this one here, circling that flower, to hold that in place, and then this one, I'm going to balance it between those two. All right, now I'm going to take this over to my Gemini. I'm going to go ahead and die cut it, and then we'll come back and show you where we're at. All right, so I'm just going to use my tape runner to hold this down. Nice and square. And then we can do the same with this piece. Turn it over, and I'm just going to add tape to it. We can always come back in with some wet glue if we need to stick down any areas. And I'm going to now eyeball this placement. Make sure we've got nice spacing on all four sides. And just turn that over and give it a nice push to make sure everything is stuck down well. A little tape runner on my glass mat there. All right, and then for the last couple of steps, I'm going to bring in some foam tape, and we're going to take our circles and put them back in place. That one's pretty easy to line up because it has that straight edge there, but the others we're going to have to figure out where the design is and how it fits in there. Not too hard to do, but you just want to do it before we move on. All right, so got a sense of how that's going to work, and now I'm just going to put some foam tape on the back of my cards. Peel off the backer and place that right back in to where the design goes. And now I'm going to use my reverse tweezers to help me hold that and line it up. Now, if you want it raised up higher, you could use double. And I got it I'm a little off. So I didn't stick it down too harsh. I think I'll be able to lift this up. All right. All right, there's our first one. I'm doing these all at the same depth, but you could double up your foam tape so that you have different heights happening if you wanted. All right, so I'm going to line up on that flower there. That looks like it should work there. And then we're on to our last one. And so as this lifts up a little bit, you get to see the color underneath. And of course we see it on the front of the card because we have the border, but you could, if you cut that border off, you could just have it lifting up to show what's underneath. All right, so once again, I'm going to use this flower to line things up. There we go. All right, so that is the front of our card, and you can see now that with the depth here, we've got a little bit of the purple underneath showing through. Now, if you wanted to, you could, like I said, raise that up higher. And then I have these sentiments. We could decide what we want to do. Do we want to say happy anniversary? I like the size of this. Or do we want to put congratulations on the front? Either way, I have some scrap card here that we could put these onto. If we want to give them a little bit of extra. That's not terrible. Let's use a little bit of wet glue on this. I'm just going to add some Zig two-way glue. Take that up. Okay, and now I want to cut this out. Hopefully my skills at cutting a straight line are good enough for that. Let's see, what does that look like on here? That's not bad, but I want to round the corners, I think. So, grab a corner rounder. I'm going to go with the smallest punch here, and I like doing it upside down so I can see that this is actually getting in there where I want it. All right. So, do we want that there? Do we want it down here? I don't think we have enough room for it down here, unless we tuck it under that circle, and I don't. It's not terrible. Do we want it on the circle? Nope. What are your thoughts on where this should go? I really like the placement down here at the bottom, so I think that's what I'm going to go with, is tucking it under. Just make sure you got everything lined up well enough. And there we have our finished stamped and die cut card.